You just said something. What you know how you feel in the moment. You said something interesting. My wife interviewed you, and she asked you a question. There was an interesting answer, and I wanted to repose it, if you don't mind. That your great revelation of late was that you had discovered emotion. That being told that something wasn't cerebral enough has now causes you intense anger or dislike of the person who said it. That I wondered what you meant by that. That you've allowed yourself to be emotional.
Well, we're talking about independent films here, and I was talking to Johanna, and I remember this, but, and also we're talking about Western films. Western films in the West are generally cerebral, they're intellectual, and they are pretty much devoid of emotion as we know it from coming from the East. I mean, I was born in India, so there's a lot. So I spent a large part of my life in denying that sort of dramatic, anguish-driven side of me, which is really, so I don't know if it's emotion. It's almost melodrama in a way, which is not very cool in the West, but which is a way of life in the East. So I think that's what I discovered. It's that, and through the Rust box, that's the box from the Natya Shastra, it's all about emotion. All those 9 are very strong emotion, including the emotion that comes from silence. So I discovered that, and I know I'm no longer apologetic about, or very, very consciously dismissive about anything that might be emotional.
Tell me a bit about filming Midnight's Children. You left the writing of the screenplay to Salman Rushdie. Why was that?
Well, it's because of the book, and it's also because of Salman. I mean, first of all, he's a marvelous screenplay writer. He had done a couple of screenplays, and I'd read them, and I thought that it would be impossible or very difficult for anybody to do things to the screenplay or to do things to the book, because obviously the screenplay is quite different from the book. There are many characters who don't exist. There are chapters that don't exist, and I mean, I wanted a writer to do it, and he said, I'm not going to go to Salman Rushdie and say, I'm cutting out 600 pages from your book. so there was that kind of a thing that was happening, and so when I told him, Salman, why don't you write it? And he said, absolutely not. I'm not going to do it. And he threw quite a fit, but he finally did agree, and that was the reason. The way he could be disrespectful to his own work, nobody else could be. And that was the reason.
Did it go as you planned? I mean, you did have that little problem with the Iranian government.
Yeah, it wasn't very pleasant again. But, by this time, I've sort of gotten used to it. So it didn't, it should have shattered me, but I was sure at this point that it would all work out. But what it did was, there
was a fatwa, though. I mean, were you not concerned for?
No, there was no fatwa.
Oh, it was over by that point?
Oh, the fatwa's over.
Yeah.
But, Salman wanted to come for the shoot for a week or so to, just to see, because it's his first book, and he loved the book, and he loved the screenplay, and he wanted to see it. And he couldn't come. So he never ever saw the film till it was actually done, and he saw a rough cut. And the reason he couldn't come was that he was not allowed to come, which is a pity. Yeah.
Did he like the rough cut?
Yeah, thank God. Oh, that was very nerve-wracking, showing this film to him, the rough cut. Yeah.
You were friends, so you've been friends.
Yeah, but
for
so
a while.
what? It's like friendship goes out of the window, when it needs be.
When you in this Matisse film, what attracted you to that?
I think that the reason I mean, first of all,
we should explain what the story is.
It's a part of Henri Matisse's life when he was about 80, and it's around the screenplay is about around the time of when he designed the Vin chapel in south of France. And what I loved about the screenplay is his relationship with a nun, who was his muse earlier on. And he was actually totally in love with her, and she joined a nunnery, and they worked together to design the chapel. So it's an unlikely love story. He was 80 and she was 26. So it's and also it was the thought was challenging. How do you make this relationship, which is even he was really in love with her, not be sort of yucky, you know? And I like that challenge. Yeah.
Who have you cast as the Mila Kunis is the?
Yeah, Mila Kunis is playing.
She's the young woman who was
Yeah.
in that TV series. What was it called? That 70s show, right. It's a very pretty, very good actress, right?
She's a great. I mean, she was in Black Swan. I don't know if any of you
Yeah.
have seen it. I mean, it's just she's fabulous. She's an amazing actor. Yeah.
And who's the lead actor?
Well,
Who's
I don't
playing
know.
Matisse?
I know what the lead actor is. Thank you.
Not that an interviewer can be bossy. I'm not saying that there's any.
Sorry, and I wasn't meaning to be rude. Well,
No,
maybe I was. I don't know.
That's what I'm here for, really.
No. It's. I've looked at a couple of people, and I must say, I mean, this sounds bizarre, that the person I really would like, and he says he wants to do it, is Al Pacino. And the reason I thought of Al Pacino is because I saw him in a film, The Merchant of Venice. Has anybody seen the film? I mean, he was just brilliant. Just brilliant. And I think that he's the right age. He feels, he's got nothing to prove now, you know. So I spent about a couple of days with him, and so maybe.
Really? I heard you were looking at Bardem, Javier Bardem.
The producers were, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
He'd be terrific too. I mean, he really would be.
Uh-huh. How old is Pacino? He's almost 80 now,
Yeah,
isn't
I think he's going to be 80 next month or something. So it's just, there's something about him. Oh, wow. He's coming to Toronto, I think, in September to do something.
Huh.
Play.
And he's also in The Godfather,
Yeah.
and which is your favorite?
Absolutely. I mean, it's perfect cinema. Not number 3, 1 and 2.
Number 1, though? Perfect cinema?
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Why so?
It's got all the elements that, you know, the thin red line comes, Terrence Malick's thin red line for me comes, or Badland comes very close to perfection, where all aspects of filmmaking, because it's not just one aspect, it's the editing, it's the music, it's the performance, it's the art direction, it's the costumes, it's the sound design, it's the cinematography, and it's the vision of the director. They all come together and nothing feels false for a second. I mean, it's just stunning.
Oh.
Have you seen Badlands?
Yeah, a long time ago, though.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I saw on the plane, I was in Boston on the weekend, and I flew back yesterday and watched, when I wasn't reading about you, I watched Last Tango in Paris.
Oh, wow.
Which is a weird movie to watch on a plane.
I know. I'm surprised that that Air Canada actually.
The young mother next to me was freaking out every time. What's her name? The woman who's the young woman. Maria Schneider appeared on screen naked, especially full frontal. Seemed to really shock her. It was something.
And you said it held a test of time.
Oh,
totally.
it's always been one of my.
Again, Bertolucci. I think that the Last Tango is also a film that's really, really beautiful.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
I think one of the reasons I like it, and like some of the films you've been talking about, is that if you went to a focus group and you said, "I'm going to make a movie about a middle-aged guy who walks into an apartment that is occupied, in a building occupied by his wife who's just committed suicide, and he meets a young 20-year-old girl, and they have this weird affair, and he does nothing she wants, and she, you know, they'd say, you can't make that movie.
Nobody will go and see it.
Nobody will go and see it.
Nobody will tweet about it.
Yeah. Tell me, speaking of great films, is there something that you wait for, that some reaction you wait to have when you're reading a project you think you might do, or that you're looking for new projects, that makes you think, that gives you that sense of, you know, Raymond Chandler called it the sound of music in the distant hills, that designates in your mind, denotes a great this is a great work. This is a work that for whatever unknown reason, when you first encounter it, you're not sure, is going to last. Do you have a few telltale signs that you always look for?
When you look at a screenplay, is a lot of it is dialogue page to page, from one end to the other. And I think that sometimes you read, maybe because I love books, that sometimes you get screenplays that are so descriptive, actually talk about the design, talk about not the feeling of a person, but I paint an atmosphere about where the character is and paint it with such depth. And so that always intrigues me.
You mean in the stage directions?
Just in the stage, because I get to know how the screenplay writer writes. I feel that you can't be a good screenplay writer. I think it's difficult to be a good screenplay writer unless you read a lot and unless you can write. But it's sometimes I see movies that elicit that kind of a thing, that you say, oh my God, I wish I'd made that. I mean, that is perfect kind of a thing. Whether it's a Godfather or lately, whether it was, Rust and Bones, for example. I mean, just the use of the camera. It's like, this man really knows how to use the camera. And somehow words become an image. And you know that this is an intelligent person who's directing it. And there's this great beauty, and there's a great... I think that whenever you do anything, you have to make yourself completely vulnerable. And that is so tough. It is so difficult. There's no... I mean, we were talking about certainty and certitude earlier. And I was saying, it's not... It isn't that, because you might be wrong. And I think that that's what it's about. And that's a real challenge to me as a director, is that I feel whenever I walk on set that I'm totally vulnerable.
And practically, that means you could change your mind, you could be wrong, you could...
Absolutely. And that's what I've learned with time, is that now if I've changed my mind, there's no embarrassment in saying. These are the few things that help in saying, time out, I have to think about this, and take the time, because it's film, once it's on film and you've gone on to your next set, the chances are you don't have the budget to go back to that set. So you might, and if it doesn't feel right, don't think that because it's written in the script or because your producer's hanging behind you that you have to move on. Don't ever compromise, and listen to yourself. You might be wrong, but hey, at least it's your mistake, I don't know.
I'm going to tell that to my editor the next time I talk to him.
Yeah, I'm sure
yes, but it's my mistake, John. It's my mistake.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll get a hefty advance the next time too.
That might not work. I don't know. Can we talk just briefly? We're going to stop in 2 minutes and open it to questions. I know you'll have lots, but can we talk just briefly about controversy? Because I know that you say that you do not seek controversy. You seek a story. You did not try and piss off the Iranian government or the Indian, the BJP. I mean, you were really not attempting to do that. But I have to say that you have a remarkable talent for attracting it.
I think that what happens with controversy is that it's also, sadly, it's like the world, it reflects the world we're living in, which is about, news and selling things. I mean, that's what it is.
Sure.
What's a good story? A controversy is a good story, and it's about selling. It's about economics. Come on, And I think that what happened with Fire was, which went through the Indian censors without one cut, which had the ministry give all its approval, till somebody thought, this is an interesting thing, and I can get votes if I say I'm against this because it's against Indian culture. I mean, what was happening in India at that point was the right-wing Hindu fundamentalist government was fighting the secular government. So they needed an easy target. I mean, I was a soft target. So I was a woman. I'd done something that was slightly weird, and let's use that. And so that perpetuated a myth. And sometimes, even when there's something that's totally innocuous, people say, okay, yeah, she did well for us by being, with Fire. So we got lots of votes or something, and let's use it for something else.
And then when it came around to be India's entry in the Academy Awards, they got behind it and were.
It was a different government. To be fair, I mean,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It was a different government, and but that happens all the time. I mean, you know,
So
people like success, and they don't like failure, and that's the reality. You know,
yeah. Yeah.
it's not pleasant.
Thanks for the tip.
That's an obvious one, right? Very
So-
subtle, Deepa. Yeah.
So does the controversy then get in the way? I mean, does it prevent you from? I think what I want to hear. I mean, do you have advice for these, you know, fledgling and up and coming and talented people? How do they get the work done? How do they? I keep thinking of something Tom Stoppard said. You know, he's a guy who writes a descriptive.
Fabulous.
You know, you're like
really.
the stage directions is like a small novel in between the bits of dialogue.
That's what I love.
But he said, somebody said to him, you know, you're such a good writer. Why don't you write more plays? And he said, Madam, I'm currently spending 1.5% of my time writing plays, and I'm working very hard to get it up to 2%. But people keep interrupting me. So how do you keep at the work? I mean, how do you keep your eye, not on the prize so much, but on the thing that makes it graceful, I guess, that makes you want to do it?
I don't know. I mean, I wish there was an answer. I mean, why do you write? You know, sometimes when you write, you can write reams of stuff, and then you have one sentence and you look at it and you say, aha, now I know why I write. Because that one sentence is such revelation of what you want. You know, it's purity. And that's what we're all looking for at some point, whether it's the perfect performance or a perfect line delivery or a perfect angle of that your cinematographer has taken, or the perfect sound or perfect design. And sometimes it all comes together, and it's so rare. But you know, if you've seen that once, then you're always motivated to find it again. I mean, I think that's as honest as I can get. Otherwise, it becomes too esoteric. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was
you're
great
welcome.
great talking to you.
Thank you all.